The Pit Press Podcast.
My name is Ryan Tamori. Welcome back to the Pit Press Podcast. Today, I am joined by Eric Moulton for once and not Ed Nunez, not to be confused with Eddie Nunez. On this episode, keeping basketball rolling in the midst of in between being at the MLB All-Star Game and I guess NFL training camps and college football. We're still talking basketball. So joining me is Eric. Eric, thank you for joining me. I'm not going to even make a joke. How are you?
I'm good, man. I know I took a little bit of a little break or a long break there, but I'm happy to be back and happy to get talking with our guest, man. I've known this guy for a good portion of my life. He grew up where I grew up. So go ahead and let's get going.
He was a student manager from 2013 to 2017. I have familiarity with basketball managers because one of my good friends was also a manager at UNM, and I name drop him all the time on here. I guess go listen to his album with the Noms, Mike Mades. He was a graduate assistant for UNM from 2017 to 2019. Gillette College assistant coach, that's JUCO. Western Texas assistant coach. Then he was at the University of North Dakota. Eric, I'm sorry, I'm looking at your notes. I don't care for recording now. I don't know what Lobo means.
Director of basketball operations.
Damn it!
Come on, man.
I'm an idiot. Damn. all the acronyms. I did you some real. I didn't do you any justice there, man. I'm sorry. So he was director of basketball operations from 2021 to 2023. My most important thing on this podcast is getting these introductions right, but Estevan is cool, so I'm happy about that. Now, and I congratulate him on this. He is now an assistant coach for the University of North Dakota Fighting Hawks. Make sure I get that right. His name is Estevan Sandoval, and we're really happy to have him on the Pit Press Podcast because he does have a history with UNM basketball. So, hey, man, thanks for joining us, and I know that you know Eric really well.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to get on and just talk hoops and talk a little bit of Lobo basketball because I reminisce all the time about, the atmosphere there and, the love that people have for the game of basketball there and, they're Lobos. So, yeah, excited to be on, man. Crazy few weeks for me, but yeah, excited to be on the podcast.
Trying to wrap your head around it. And yeah, I get it, man. But Ryan, if you don't mind, I'm just going to kind of jump in. You were just kind of alluding to kind of loving it, your new promotion. Congratulations again. But let's keep it with the love part of basketball and how you got started. I know you were a kid. We both grew up in Santa Fe, New Mexico, so we're both New Mexicans here. And I mean, go ahead and get started on give our listeners kind of like an in-depth, I guess, feel for your love for basketball, how it all got started, where you went to high school, and then how you got introduced to UNM and became a student manager.
Yeah, man, it's been a ride for sure. Obviously, my dad, Eric. I was basically baptized in the gym. Don't tell that to the Catholics. But essentially that's, I was baptized by other people's blood, sweat, and tears, watching practice, always in the gym. I don't know, probably the first time I really remember stuff is probably being around 6 or 7 and just being absolutely nuts on the sideline, trying to join the student section and trying to do that kind of stuff at Santa Fe high school games with my dad when he was working for Carl Marano. And then he obviously bumped to the staff with Dave Rodriguez, and then and then I think he left there and he went and worked with Ben Gomez at Capital for a while, and that's kind of where I met Zach Cole and that whole crew of people, that Terrence Mirabal, all those people, and now he's my cousin-in-law, right? So there's some things that like I just kind of fell in love with it. I was raised in it and never saw anything else really. That was my life for a good portion of my youth. And just watching like the progressions that my dad had and watching that how he was able to like communicate and create relationships with guys and how special that was to him. But then like my own relationships with the guys and how like that created a bond and a love, and just seeing the camaraderie and team chemistry between the teams he coached and the success. The first manager experience I got was actually in the pit, but it was with Ben Gomez's team. And I was probably, I don't know, like a sixth grader or fifth grader. And I asked him to be a manager for them for the state tournament because I wanted to be on the floor, and I'd never been on the pit floor, and that was really special. And always thankful to Gomez for that. And then after that, I was sixth grader, and so I got into St. Mike's. Mom was thrilled I got into St. Mike's. My dad and Coach Gomez and that staff kind of went a different direction, and so Dad popped over to St. Mike's, and he was an assistant at St. Mike's with Coach Geyer all the years I was there, which was awesome. Obviously played 7th through 12th grade there and had various coaches, one of which just won a state championship this last year, my JV coach, Gerard Garcia. So shout out to him. I know Coach Moon's still there, and he's still kicking the middle school guys' butts. And he reaches out to me all the time. Just blessed with a lot of good coaches, Coach Apodaca, Coach Geyer, obviously. You can't forget my dad, man. He was awesome and still is to this day. Like, he's my number one coach. If I have a mentor that's a number one mentor, he's the one. I'm always bouncing players off of him, always bouncing ideas, thoughts. It's a pretty cool working relationship. There were times where it was rough as a high school kid, but he's been awesome. And so played high school, and then I'm a 5'8", sometimes give myself 5'9" Hispanic kid who's slow and can just shoot threes. So I figured I wasn't going to play college basketball, and so senior year kind of wraps up. We lose to Hope in the state championship. I'm like, man, what am I going to do with my life? Knew I was going to UNM, and knew I wanted to be in basketball. Knew I wanted to coach. I just didn't know how to really break in. And the one in that I was like, man, if I could just get in with the team, it's going to really help me. So I asked Coach Geyer if he had any connections, and he knew Craig Snow, who's currently the associate head coach or assistant coach at the University of Evansville. And he got me on for summer camps, and I was a summer camp coach. That's it. I had no job promise, no manager position promise. Like, hey, you're coming to try out to be a manager. And Ryan Berriman, Kevin McCurdy, like those guys now are currently some of my best friends. But like, I didn't know them at the time, and they were really tough. They were really tough at the time, and kind of showed me the ropes, but in a stern, like, tough way at the beginning of it. And man, I'm really thankful for those guys, because they kind of changed my perspective on just what it means to work hard and put everything you got into something, even though everybody's watching what's happening on the floor and nobody really cares what's going on behind the scenes. Like, all that matters. Everything behind the scenes matters. And so they kind of taught me that. And they've just been really, really good friends since, and coworkers and peers. And so grateful for them. Was a manager for 4 years under Coach Neal, and he was great to us. I actually got to see him out recruiting, and that just kind of made me smile, because he was very, very happy for me. And it's like, man, I was a student manager for this dude like 8 years ago. Now I'm an assistant watching high school games with him. Like, to me, that was kind of full circle, cool deal. And we got let go. I was really unsure what would happen when he got let go. And Chris Harriman and Ryan Berriman both stayed on staff with Paul Weir, and they were huge advocates for me to stay on as a GA. And thankfully to those guys, like, Paul called me. I took an internship, like a basketball internship for the summer somewhere. He called me 2 weeks into the internship and was like, hey, if you can get back by Monday, the job's yours. And I was on literally the first flight out of Pennsylvania to get back to Albuquerque, and I was thrilled. And so stayed there for 2 years, man. It's been a ride. Went to Gillette College after the graduate assistantship. Sean Neary, another new mentor that I learned and kind of learned how he won. I mean, man, he's a winner. We were 26-6. 6 Division I players on that team. One's a current Lobo from that team. And then, we got let go because of COVID, and the current Lobo and I, Isaac Mushila, we went to Western Texas College together. And we won again, and won the Whack Jack tournament, and lost to Ranger, who had 7 Division I players, and they ended up going to Hutch, and we didn't. So after that, I kind of was in limbo a little bit, and then Coach Sather called me and headed out to North Dakota, and I was the ops guy for the last 2 years, and now we're kind of here, man. It's been just a roller coaster of a ride when you reminisce on it.
What's the culture shock like between what's the culture shock between Grand Forks and Albuquerque?
Well, I mean, I think the thing is like I was in Gillette, Wyoming, so like I got a slight taste of the winter, right? So like that part of it wasn't so new to me. Like I knew it was going to suck because I had to go through it already, but it wasn't the end all be all of why I was here. You know, I love the people here in Grand Forks. And then being in small towns in West Texas aren't great. So here it's a bigger city, you know, we're about the size of Santa Fe, and it's all college town, man. Everybody loves UND.
Yeah, kind of sticking with the whole UND thing. You sent me a tweet earlier, and it was from one of the, I don't know which, it was one of the Major Madness, Low Madness Twitter accounts where they had North Dakota ranked #1 recruiting classes for the summit this year. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, you're probably still out on the recruiting trail. How involved are you in that, and what are you guys bringing in?
Yeah, for sure. So like now I'm really in the recruiting stuff. Whereas as the director of operations, I could recruit, but I just couldn't go on the road to recruit. Like I could call prospects and that stuff. Now I can get on the trail. I can go evaluate talent, that sort of thing. So that's like the difference in my job. You know, people hear you're on D1 staff. That's the jump you want to make. It's the hardest jump to make actually in the deal, because kind of once you're an assistant coach, you can bounce around and be an assistant coach pretty much everywhere, and you're connected with other assistant coaches because you're at the same events with them. As far as our team and what we're bringing in this year, man, we kind of got a good mix of guys. We got 4 freshmen coming in. All 4 of them are regional guys. So we got two walk-ons, one from Grand Forks, Zach Kraft, who took his team all the way to state championship this year. And then Matthew Bothan, who's probably a top 10 scorer in the state of Minnesota last year. And those guys are both going to walk on for us. Then we got Ryan Erickson and Anthony Doppler, who are 2 Bismarck guys, who are local guys, and they'll be scholarshiped and on our squad this year. And I think we're going to redshirt. I think we may redshirt them. I don't know yet. I'm not quite sure. We will get that to that point when we get there. And then 2 junior college guys, Amar Koljavic and Dang Mayer. So I coached Dang Mayer at Western Texas with Isaac. So he played on the same team as Isaac Mushila. He started at the 4, and Isaac started at the 5 for us on that team. And we went 15-8, I believe. And then we actually, for the first time this year since I've been here, we hit on a couple of transfers from the portal. One was already at North Dakota, but he left to James Madison. Tyree Ianacho, very dynamic scoring, kind of point guard, scoring guard. And then Eli King, who was a top 5 player in Minnesota his senior year of high school. And he was at Iowa State last year. So that's kind of what we're bringing in. And I feel, I mean, those 8 guys are really good. You know, I would say really good humans first. I do appreciate and understand how my boss is kind of starting to move with that kind of stuff. And, you know, the number one thing he's looking for is are you a good person? And all 8 of those guys, I can really say, are good people first. And then the basketball stuff comes after that.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you a totally random question here.
Go ahead, man.
What's the hatred like for North Dakota State?
Horns down. That's all I'll say. That's all I'm going to say.
That's all I needed. I mean, is that it? I think people probably around, they obviously know who North Dakota State is. If you're like me, a geek, you know, the Summit, obviously oral. What kind of basketball do you expect out of the Summit League in 2023-24, especially when you had a team like Oral Roberts and you had a player that was nationally, if you follow college basketball deeply, nationally recognized as Max Asmus? I know he left, but what do you expect out of the Summit League this year?
I mean, I think that it won't be as top heavy as it was last year. First and foremost, I think like last year, it was a clear cut. There was one, and then there was 2A and 2B, and then everybody else after that. This year, I think the top four are probably pretty good, and I would hope that we're in that top four. I think there's probably one A, B, C, and D right now. I don't necessarily know who's in what order either. So, but you know, South Dakota State's obviously probably going to be a lot of people's pick because they're returning basically everybody. And they have like 4 of their 5 leading scorers back. Like they're going to be really, really good. And, you know, I would say we're probably in that conversation as far as what we're returning with Sotne, with BJ Omat, with Trace and Eagle staff, with Brady Danielson, you know, Elijah Brooks. I just don't know if we can be out of that conversation with having that much usage back. So that's what I'll say about that.
Now, we are primarily a UNM athletics podcast, and
Sure.
You probably could have guessed the question was coming with Isaac Mushila and you having a close connection with them and with him at Texas A&M Corpus Christi. What kind of basketball player? So I guess it's like a two-sided question, but what kind of basketball player and what kind of person should UNM Lobo fans expect?
Yeah, man. I'll talk about
I got to jump in there. He's my guy. He's a Texas A&M Corpus Christi Islanders. I loved it.
Well, he put up like 16 and 15 on Alabama, and that's when I knew. I think Kayla and I were in the car driving to Minnesota for something, and we were listening to his game. And Ralph Davis, one of the guys that I was at UNM with, and Isaiah Brooks, who's another Santa Fe guy, were on that staff. So like really heavy ties to that team, and we're just like rooting for them the whole way. And you know, obviously outcome wasn't great, but for him to do what he did, I looked at Caleb and I said, Isaac's going to play for some NIL money next year for sure. And turns out, I mean, you know, the Lobos come calling, and to be fair, Kurt Roth and that whole crew that's doing the collective there are doing a phenomenal job. Probably one of the best in mid-major in the country. As far as mid-majors go, like he's definitely doing more than a lot of people have probably heard about in the country. So props to him and props to the guys at 505 SVP, I think is what it's called. So they've done a really good job. And, you know, as far as Isaac goes, man, he's a kind of a bubbly personality. He's gonna be giggly and laughing, and you know, kind of a fun-loving guy. Like you wouldn't suspect he's gonna be this like hard-nosed, tough dude on the floor. And you know, as soon as the ball goes up, man, like Coach Neary and I used to joke about what like a gamer meant, and we think Isaac was a gamer because sometimes he just wouldn't practice as hard as we'd want him to. But one of the things I told him when he went to UNM is like, hey, you better be ready to practice every day because those dudes are going to be really real, dude. But yeah, when the lights are on, man, the dude is just going to rebound and he's going to have effort. And he always used to tell me late games, he's like, that's when they're all tired, coach. I know I'm going to go get like 6 rebounds in the last 4 minutes of a game because everybody else is going to be exhausted and I'm going to be just fine. So like, that's kind of who he is, man. He's going to go get putbacks. He's going to get rebounds. He'll make an occasional 3 now from what I've watched. Like he's a great player, kind of owns his role a little bit, knows his role. And, you know, sometimes he's just a little undersized and people overlook him for that, but he's 6'5" and can kind of do a little bit of everything. So his motor is his biggest strength by far, though.
Yeah, you do know that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say you do realize that the pit is gonna pick up on all those antics pretty quick.
For sure.
They like those glue guys, the guys that are diving all over the floor,
Yep.
the guys that are doing all the dirty work, getting rebounds, kind of doing the stuff that doesn't necessarily show up on the stat sheet, but
Yep.
could potentially be one of the next kind of Lobo.
For sure. And Isaac's that guy, like that blue collar mentality is a very New Mexico thing anyway. So like people have that mindset of, man, I just got to go to work every day and I got to get stuff done. And so like for him to be in that kind of a culture, you know, I'm really jealous he gets to eat red chili every day and I don't. The breakfast burritos are what I miss the most for sure. They don't have any breakfast burrito spots out in Grand Forks. So
with you looking at just the other transfers with UNM, have you taken a step back and thought, man, hot damn, this is on paper, I've said it, this team looks good?
Yeah, I mean, everybody, I look at our roster right now and say we look good. I think a lot of it throughout the course of a season, and this is just the coach speaking me, like it's July, right? Like we got to just calm down a little bit. We got to develop. And this is what Coach Patino is telling his team is he's not worried about what they look like roster wise right now. It's just, how do we get everybody 1% better? From looking at it though, yes, like absolutely. It's what he definitely wanted to see in that vision, and his staff has definitely done a good job putting that together. So, you know, props to them. And like I said, I don't think it gets done without Kurt Roth, you know, keeping Mash and keeping the house. I don't know if that gets done without Mr. Roth there. And I'm just being honest with the culture that we're in now, is that's how things work. Is it's going to be really hard to keep kids if you don't have good collectives or good NIL stuff around it to kind of make it a destination that it's wanted to be attended to, you know?
Estevan, you've been around a lot of head coaches in your life. Kind of just going back to your early days, high school ball, student manager, grad assistant, assistant coach, director of basketball operations. I mean, just kind of like along your path, starting with Noodles, Weir, and now Sather. Did I say that right? Sather?
Sather.
I mean, what do you pull from these guys? Like what from each individual person, like different characteristics, your coaching style, what they bring to the table? Like, what do you take away from each, I guess, personality trait?
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at it all and then you kind of pick at it. Like ultimately my goal is to be a head coach, you know, dream job, probably New Mexico. And that's just straight up like the honest truth. But yeah, you kind of look at it from a scope of like, all right, well, what can I just take away from it? And each guy is completely different, honestly, in their own way. Like I thought Noodles, schematically, he was awesome. He was great at depicting, you know, defenses and saying, hey, this is how we're going to go up against this. And like vividly remember him like in practices and in games, like looking at us as a staff and you know, it's just a manager, but you look at the staff and you go, we're going to get him with this one. And then you go out and bang a three. And it's like, geez, how did he do that? How did he know like that was just going to kind of play out? And just learning that kind of stuff from him. And then, you know, Paul Weir was definitely like the hard worker in him, like just how much he worked, how he was just relentless in that pursuit of trying to be great. And, you know, I don't necessarily think he got a fair shake with COVID and all the stuff that happened during that. So like, I just ultimately, it's hard for me to speak on it, but yeah, it sucks, but COVID didn't really help him at all and help his cause. And then Neary at Gillette, man, he's something else. I think I saw with him was like how he was able to differentiate the game on the floor and the people off the floor, like the game and how he wanted to develop his team versus, you know, how he's willing to treat people off of it and how his players reacted and responded to him off the floor versus on the floor. I mean, just how he built relationships with each one of those guys and got them to buy in and trust him, with not only that season, but like their recruitment ultimately and what their next step of life was going to be as a junior college athlete. And then Coach Cooper, defensively, he was great at Western Texas. And Sather here, man, like just an awesome person, great human being, great basketball coach, knows how to treat people to a T. Is going to make you smile when you need a smile, and he's going to light your fire when you need your fire lit. So like, he just gets it. That's kind of it. Like, he just gets it all, like on the floor, X's and O's. He's very, very well-rounded, is what I would say. And kind of has a little bit of everything in him that makes working for him not only fun, but like every day is fun. Every day is something to like I'm excited to go to work every day when working for him. So it's that part of it's been awesome working for him. So that's kind of what I've taken from each one. I could probably go on a list of all those high school Santa Fe coaches too, but that might leave us here for another hour.
Yeah, I want to hear all the stories you got about Coach Gomez, man.
Oh boy, yeah. Gomez, Geyer, there's a lot of them.
Well, thank you, Estevan. I appreciate you taking the time out of your evening to step away from your family to join the Pit Press. But that's kind of what we're about, man. We're about supporting local, and your story is needed to be told. And I know we'll probably try to get Isaiah Brooks on too. I know he's another local Santa Fe kid out of Capital. He's still is it Corpus Christi, or did he bounce around?
He's at Western Kentucky right now. So he's in my previous position, the Dobo position. What's Dobo mean?
Director of Basketball Operations.
Perfect. We got it now. He's the Dobo at Western Kentucky. So doing big things, man. I love it. Seeing Santa Fe guys succeed is awesome. He played for Gomez for his years, and he's a lot like Isaac Mushila in a lot of ways, man. He's the player that Isaiah Brooks is very much like Isaac Mushila. So people know, that's kind of what they're getting in Isaac.
Thank you for coming on, man. We really appreciate it. We'll definitely, if you have time during the season, we definitely love to talk to you, because there's
nice. It would be cool.
I'm sorry.
Nice. A check-in would be awesome, man. That'd be cool for me to pop in again. And
no, of course, yeah, man. We really appreciate you for joining the podcast.
We'll send you some breakfast burritos. How about that?
Oh man, I don't know which place. Twisters would be good. What else? My fiance is right here, so I'm going to ask for a recommendation. What do you want?
Oh man, Burrito Express.
She said Golden Pride. So there you go.
Okay. I was going to say.
Guess where we're eating? We're eating Golden Pride.
I was going to say I thought Twisters was pretty weak.
Ooh.
When I was in New Jersey, my mom sent me a couple of care packages like once or twice, and it was green chili stew from Frontier, Golden Pride, and then tortillas. So I understand that, especially if you're in the North Midwest.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, that northern New Mexico chili is a little bit different than the southern New Mexico chili.
Gotta get that the red. I'm a red guy. Even though I'm wearing green, I am a red guy.
I'm glad I didn't stop recording there. Hey, man, it's Estevan Sandoval. He's an assistant coach for the University of North Dakota Fighting Hawks. We appreciate your time, man. Thank you.
Appreciate you guys.
Dude, thank you very much.